to you all. Good evening to you all. I am here to speak about the poem "The Eagle." Alfred Lord Tennyson has written this poem. Alfred Lord Tennyson was the a poet in the Victorian era after came after the Romanticism. The eagle is a powerful symbol, and eagle is a powerful bird. Let us we go to the poem line by line. He clasped the crack with hooked hands. He, the narrator, using a personal personification. The narrator is treat the bird to human. Clasp is the word is holding tightly the crack, the top of the mountain, and crooked hands. Crooked is has two meanings. The first meaning is crooked is a shape. The second meaning is the crooked is a harshness and corrupted. The eagle is holding tightly the top of the mountain with his crooked hands. The next line, close to the sun in lonely lands. The bird is close to the sun in lonely lands. The bird is standing alone in the mountain. The ringed with usher word he stand. Ringed usher word is indicate the blue sky. It's usher word is a visual imagery. So the usher word is a blue sky. He stand. The bird is standing. The surrounding the blue sky. The next line, the wrinkled sea beneath him growls. Wrinkled sea, the wrinkled sea beneath him growls. It's indicate to indicate to beneath him growls. Wrinkled, the sea's clothes wrinkled in the bird. He watches from his mountain walls. The bird is watching from his mountain walls. The bird's house is mountains. The bird's house wall is the mountain. So this time the narrator indicate to the power of the eagle. The last line is, and like a thunderbolt he falls. Thunderbolt is a beautiful and a powerful natural force. The thunderbolt he falls because he kills his prey uh, and the bird is see his prey. So the bird is kill his prey. So the bird is came thunderbolt force. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Sadhujika. You did your presentation very well. Next, I would like to call upon Devikan to talk about the poem War is Kind by Stephen Crane.
The War is Kind by Stephen Crane. Stephen Crane was born in 1871 and passed away in 1900s. And he's one of the most influential realist writers in America. And he had the first-hand experience in the war as a war reporter. And Crane's poem of 5 stanzas takes us right into the art of the battle, capturing the cruelty of the war. He sharply focuses the scene of dying soldiers, and each stanza, the poet seems to console the mourners in an ironical tongue and seems to console the affected victims of the wars. In the first stanza of War is Kind, the poet begins by making the use of refrain. he tells a maiden or an unmarried woman that she should not weep. What he states is kind. This is obviously a very unusual and likely ironic thing to say. And he goes on to tell the woman that her lover threw his hands in the air when he was confronted in the war. And when this happened, his steed or horse ran alone. It was affrighted, and a complicated way to say fright. And it is unclear what exactly happened to make the lover throw his hands in the air. Maybe it was a surrender, or perhaps something darker happened and he was injured or even killed. And last two lines of his stanza are reiteration of the part of the first line, and two statements of which making up the refrain. These two lines book the stanza, and they do with stanza 3 and 5. And speaker plays with the previous reference to the steed and uses the word horse. And this time, through his referring to the drums played by the regiment of the soldiers, they sounded hoarse and as if they are sick or need of something to drink. In the next two lines, the speaker says, the soldiers are little souls and are thirsting for water, but for fight. And the phrase little souls is interesting. It contrasts with the next line, which seems to suggest the men do not have souls. The speaker goes on to say that these men were born for nothing else other than to fight. And they were born to drill as in train and practice and then die. They are mechanical and in their action and in their purpose. And in the fourth line, the speaker references unexplained glory, and there is no clear definitive answer to what glory is, and but it could refer to the uh, ephemeral nature of glory itself. It is something that spectators and outsiders from the war imbue upon those who was in the war. And glory is not something that actively seeks out soldiers on the battlefield.
Thank you, David, for your one.
In the last lines of the section, the speaker mentions a battle god, and there are a number of different gods who could fit this description. Different gods who could fit this description, but the next exact name does not matter. What the speaker is doing here is setting out a scene which is ruled differently than other kingdoms. This particular kingdom is nothing more than a field where 1,000 corpses lie. It's a hyperbole, and it is exaggerated as 1,000 bodies lying on the battlefield. And it is a dark and terrible place, and which is ruled over by a powerful force. And in the third stanza, the speaker begins by asking Babe not to weep. And he has moved from addressing a woman to speaking to a young child. He tells that the child uh, that there is no reason to weep, and then provides them with a very good reason to do and do so. The child's father, who was in a battle uh, of some kind, died in the yellow trenches, and he had rage and his breast and gulped and died. And the rage refers to his own thirst of water and the injury which killed him. And the bullet entered his body, driven by another rage. And the refrain is again repeated. And it is starting to become even more haunting as its deeper irony is made clear. And the flag of the regiment is mentioned in the fourth stanza of War is Kind. It is blazing and patterned with a crest of red and gold and eagle. And there is another moment of repetition in which this line, these men were born to drill and die, is used to again. And it is a reminder. And its reuse helps create a rhythm to the poem. And along with the refrain, do not weep or war is kind, the poem starts to sound a song like. In lines of 4 through 6 of the stanza, the speaker goes through some terrible images. He speaks to a flag and tells it to make sure the men know that there is a virtue in the slaughtering one's enemies and that there is excellence in killing. And the stanza ends with the repetition of the line and fields where 1,000 corpses lie. And in the fifth stanza of Was Kind is directed towards a mother who was faced with the loss of her son. With the alliterative phrase, heart hung humble as a button, the speaker describes the way she stood before her son's coffin, and her heart was on the shroud of her son, as simple as a button. Crane describes the heart as completing the action, a technique called as metonymy. And the excerpt ends with the speaker again telling someone not to cry and that the war is kind. And let's look at the poetic techniques used in this poem. First, allusion. Allusion means to use references of culture, historical, and social significance. And the poet used general military allusions such as regiment, drill, drums, and battle. And the next one is assonance. Assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds in the same line, such as the sound of A and the affrighted she ran alone. And on bright splendid shroud of your son. And the next is alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of consonant sounds uh, in the same line in quick succession, such as the sound of H in the heart hung humble. And the next one is consonance. Consonance is the repetition of consonant sounds in the same line, such as the sound of M in the hoarse booming drums of the regiments and the sounds of D and T in these men were born to drill and die. Imagery. Imagery is used to make readers perceive through things involving their five senses. And imagery makes us readers imagine the original scene in their minds. And Stephen Crane used uh, imagery very much in this poem, such as swift blazing flag of the regiment, booming, little souls who thirst for fight and point for them the virtue of slaughter. And the next one is irony. And we can take this technique as the main technique of this poem because the title is even an ironical. And irony means to use words whose intended meanings are contradictory to the actual words. For example, the phrase, as I told earlier, the title War is Kind shows this ironical idea. And the next is metaphor. It is a figure of speech in which an implied comparison is made between objects different nature. The poet uses the metaphor of glory that flies like a bird and simile. It means direct comparison of things to show clarify the meanings of one thing being compared. The words like and as shows that there is a simile is used. And for example, Stephen Crane used a simile of heart, which is like a button on the coffee. And the next one is symbolism. Symbolism is using symbols to signify the ideas and qualities, giving them symbolic meanings that are different from the literal meanings. And the poem shows symbols such as regiment, street fight, glory, and corps to show the ravages of the war. Thank you for giving this chance. Thank you for giving.
Thank you, David, for your wonderful presentation. Next, I would like to call Abna to talk about the poem The Eagle by Alfred Lord Tennyson.
Good evening to you all. Today I am going to present on the poem The Eagle by Alfred Lord Tennyson. This poem was written in 19th century in Victorian era after the Romantic era. This poem has a beautiful theme concert on nature. As a nature lover, he wrote this poem about the bird eagle. Uh, uh, he started the poem, he clapped the cracks with crooked hands. The word he is subject pronouns. The bird is collapsing the cracks, that means the rocks in the mountains with his hands. We all know the bird eagle don't have hands, but here the poet said the eagle has hands. It is called as personification. Claps, crags, and crooked are alteration, as they are the words are starting with the letter C. Uh, letter C. The next line, close to the sun in lonely lands. It means he is close. He is in very close to the sun in his land. It is not possible in true because the sun is a lot far away from the earth. So here used a thunderbolt effect here. As a bird which love lonely, which is very lonely and uh, being lonely without any human activities or human world. It is very powerful and majestic. Ringed with the azure world he stands. The azure world is the surrounding with the blue. It surrounded with blue surrounding. Uh, Here he used Kashura to block or pause the middle of the line with the punctuations such as commas and dashes. Uh, Dashes. In the second stanza, the point of view is changing. The wrinkles sea beneath him crawls. The word wrinkles and crawls crawls maybe shows the contrast between the two nature characters. The eagle, the eagle maybe see the waves are slowly move when he saw the sea from the sky. He watched from his mountain walls. Uh, it means the word walls mean his home. His mountain walls means it is the position of the bird. As a owner of the bird, as the owner of the world, he is standing alone, and like a thunderbolt, he falls. Uh, the thunderbolt is a powerful and beautiful effect of nature. It happened unexpectedly and suddenly. Uh, it is flashing light. It flashed upon when we unexpected it. So he said, the eagle catch it uh, prey easily with the target. So it is get his prey as the thunderbolt effect. The central message of this poem is strive for greatness like the powerful eagle. The emotions evoked here are bravery, courage, and freedom. The bird is staying in his own life without disturb anyone. Uh, the rhyming pattern of the poem is A B. He feels monarch of the world. So be brave, and don't be lazy in your work. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhinav, for your wonderful presentation. Next, I would like to call Kirtana to talk about the poem The Eagle by Alfred Lord Tennyson.
Good evening to you all. Today I am going to speak about the poem The Eagle by Alfred Lord Tennyson. The Eagle is a poem which is under the topic of nature, written by Alfred Lord Tennyson, who was remains as one of the most popular British poets. It's an extremely short poem written in the Victorian era. Tennyson was born on 6th of August 1809 in England. He is noted specially for using rhythm and rhyme in his poetry. He wrote many historical poems. He was the poet laureate during much of Queen Victoria's reign, and Tennyson has taken the eagle as a dominator. The poem gives the message how the eagle has power and freedom. The eagle is a rare kind of bird and cannot be sighted easily. The eagle is a bird of prey. The poet talks about the regal eagle in this poem. This poem is one of the shortest poem of Alfred Lord Tennyson, which has only 2 stanzas with 3 lines each. And the first 3 lines create the picture of the eagle. And the poet focuses on an eagle that lives alone in a top of a mountain. He is high up in the air so that any other animal or human can reach him. He is close to the sun. The phrase "close to the sun," the wrinkled sea beneath him crawls, the watchers from his mountainous walls effectively suggest that he is high up in the air where nobody can reach. He clasped the crag with crooked hands, suggests that he is holding on with his hands just as a human. In a way, the eagle symbolizes men who have power and authority. In lonely lands can suggest the eagle's lonely life as he lives high up in the air, which ultimately suggests the isolation and lonely lives famous powerful people. The eagle seems to be proud to be in the top of all which gives him the controlling power. Now we look at the second stanza. The second stanza shows the action of the eagle. The first and second lines further emphasize the idea that the eagle watches from the top his high throne, even the seas below him. The final line suggests that the eagle makes a grand plunge towards the sea. That action of the eagle suggests that sudden, abrupt action over his prey, which again symbolizes the exercising of power by the powerful over the powerless. Thus, the eagle is portrayed as a symbol of power. Tennyson's The Eagle shows and emphasizes on appreciating nature. It's a nature poem praising the eagle's beauty and power. Further, it has a deeper meaning. The poet suggests the destructive nature of the eagle too. Moreover, though it's very short poem, it's full of figurative language. Now we look at the literary techniques used in this poem. First one is alliteration. Alliteration means a repetition of similar sound in the beginning of the word. In the first line, clasps, crack, crooked are the alliteration, and lonely, land are some examples for alliteration in the second line. This technique has used to emphasize the appearance and position of the eagle. Similarly, in creates the fineness of the eagle by suggesting the way he grasps onto the mountain cliff. Further, the alliteration creates a specific melody. Another literary technique is hyperbole. It means extreme exaggeration. For example, close to the sun, this device emphasizes the eagle is not a simple one. The poet highlights his majestic royal nature. And the third literary device is personification. Personification means gives human traits to inhuman object. For example, he clasps the crag with crooked hands. He stands. This personification gives the idea that the eagle seems much more important than just an ordinary simple bird. And there are some rhyming words used in this poem. In the first stanza, we can see hands, lands, stands are the rhyming words. And crawls, walls, falls are the rhyming words used in second stanza by the poet. And we can see in this poem, there are two types of imagery used by the poet. First is visual imagery. Visual imagery, the word azure literally means bright blue. The poet creates visual image of this eagle sitting on a top of a mountain, high above all, and the bright blue sky is around him, and the sun is blazing. Tennyson is able to create a very impressive, colorful visual image in the reader's mind. The auditory imagery also used in this poem, like a thunderbolt, he fall. The word thunderbolt creates an auditory imagery, and a metaphor. It's also used in this poem. For example, the wrinkled sea. This metaphor suggests the waves in the ocean. And the last literary technique is simile. Like a thunderbolt, he falls. This simile suggests the sudden, quick action of the eagle, or the way he dives probably on a prey. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Kirtana. You did an admirable presentation. Now I would like to call Sumedha to speak on the Lahu attack.
Good evening to you all. Today I'm going to present about the Lahore attack, which is in the Colin Cowtray lecture by the famous cricket Kumar Sanghahara, who was the captain of the Sri Lankan cricket team between 2009 to 2011. He and his team were targeted at Pakistan in the stadium of that third day test match. Here you see Sanghahara is a cricket player, reveals the responses of the player after the attack. And also Sanghahara beautifies the attack. Here the most important thing is the narrator is one of the participation of this incident. It is called as the first man point of view. if it is a first man point of view in the situation, then there is a real feeling will come to the audience or the readers because of the narrator was the victim of this. In the first stanza, the word fortunate reveals the Kumar Sanghara's luck in the attack. According to the Sri Lankan ideology, luck designs their life. The whole world mesmerized or fascinated by Kumar Sanghara's speech because its sincerity, dignity, and purity. He was contributively including the spirit of cricket in accordance with a code of cricket laws, ensuring that cricket is always played in a truly sportsman-like manner. In this speech, he recalls the Asian culture of Sri Lanka, the unique culture and new opportunities in that time for Sri Lanka. The main themes of the Lahore attack are leadership quality, patriotism, humanity, and the value of service. The Lahore attack comes under the prose passages is an extract from Kumar Sanghara's Colin Cowtray lecture delivered on 5th of July 2011 at Lord's. Colin Cowtray was a batsman who and a bowler who played cricket for England team during 1954 to 1975. He was a member of MCC, which is the governing body of cricket in England and worldwide. The Lahore attack happened in 2009, 3rd of March, at Calfady Stadium. I'm able to tell about the author. Kumar Sanghara is a world-class cricket player, and he has received international recognition and acclamation. He was born on 27th of October 1977. His father is a lawyer, sportsman, and an ardent lover of literature, art, philosophy, etc. He addresses Sanka by his team members and his loved fans. He is a left-hand batsman. Not only as a top-order batsman, he used to play as a wicket-keeper too. He has been ranked as the first test man in the world during his career. Sanghara is married to Jahali and they have 2 children. This speech is considered as important because of the thoughts I was never in the wrong place at the wrong time. When we look at the word attack, is something away from Sri Lanka. It is known as Lahore attack. From this, we can guess that for the Sri Lankan cricket team, it was an unpleasant experience for them because the attack has not caused any calms of their life. And from Kumar Sanghara's thought suggests a lot of things. First of all, he was the lucky man throughout that struggle period. And the next thing, how was fortunate that during my lifetime, I never experienced violence in Sri Lanka firsthand. That time, Sri Lanka have many problems, but he never faced in Sri Lanka. Firstly, he never faced or met any attacks in Sri Lanka first time. He first time faced attack in Pakistan. And the second is physically detached from wars. The Colombo people did not directly or indirectly involving in wars or attacks. That's why they did not have any physically detached in their physical body. And the sentence, people went to work and I played my cricket. Here the my cricket is possessive pronoun. That how Sankahara loves cricket, and the Sankahara bonding with cricket, it represents like that. And how was the other parts of people in Sri Lanka? Their life were totally disturbed by the attacks. People, other parts of country, people have to face wars because to protect their country and the people, and police and the army have to face the attacks because they are the protectors of their own country. In the dressing room, Tilan Tushara joked like that, if we have any attacks, then we will go back to our home. He wished that he would like to go to his home. Home is the place where we can live safe and get relaxed. And Tilan Tushara joked like funnily, but it will be happen after few minutes. In literature, it is called as foreshadowing. Foreshadowing is a device that suggests or warnings about the incidents in the present time, and sounded like firecrackers. Mostly Hindus use firecrackers to celebrate their festivals. And here the firecrackers compared as a bullet sound. Then it is in literature it is called a simile. Simile is a figure of speech that compares to things using the words like or as. Here the word like is used by the narrator. Here we can feel the sound of the firecracker. Then it is called as auditory imagery. In auditory imagery, we can feel the sound of that incident. And the second example for the simile is, it was like a drain on a tin of roof. That is a second example for the simile. And we will go the next stanza. The Sri Lankan cricket team players hoping and praying to avoid death or injury. And unexpectedly, Mehela Tushara Taranga have heavy injuries also. Here, Mehela avoid bullets by look at Thilan. It is called as a narrow escape. Kumar Sangahara saw him as a good and sensible leader. He is a thoughtful leader like a father